Do you think you could try this one on your own? Just to give it a try. You've seen a double angle problem in action. You have formulas to plug stuff into. Maybe just give it a try. See how far you get to find the cosine of pi eighths using a half angle identity. So if you're using a half angle identity, that means you're finding an angle that is half of a different angle that you already know ratios for. So pi eighths is obviously half of pi fourths. So you choose your cosine half angle identity. You use pi fourths in the identity itself to find the value of cosine pi eighths, and you want to make sure if it's positive or negative depending on what quadrant it's in. So pi eighths would be half of 45 degrees, which is 22.5. So obviously first quadrant. So obviously the answer will be positive, so you don't even need to worry about the negative in front of the square root, just the positive. And your answer might be a little ugly because you'll have a square root inside of a square root, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So just let it be ugly. See what you can do. On this stuff. I messed something up somewhere. Probably. Okay, can we look at this together? Alright, so cosine of pi eighths can be found by doing the square root, and the answer is positive, 1 plus cosine of pi fourths over 2. Alright, so that gives us the square root of 1 plus square root of 2 over 2 over 2. So yes, it's ugly with a square root in it. We're going to leave a square root in there, but we don't want to leave the fractions like that. So we do want to get rid of the double fraction sort of thing. So what do we have to do with this? Common denominator. So then we'll have 2 plus square root of 2 over 2 divided by 2. 2 could be rewritten as 2 over 1. So then you copy dot flip the 2 over 1, so you're multiplying by 1/2. So then you have the square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over 4. And you can do the square root of 4. So what they usually do is do the square root of 4 and take that out of the square root. So that's like a 1/2 because the square root of 4 is 2, but that's on the bottom of the fraction. And then you're left with what's in the top of the fraction, 2 plus square root of 2, and you do have a square root inside of a square root. But that's generally how they'll leave the answer. It's ugly, but it's exact. That's what they want. Or you could just write it like square root of 2 plus square root of 2 over 2, right that way. Either way. Either way is fine. I've just typically seen it more often done like this, but... Okay, couple more, we're almost done. Find the sine of 75. This time I'm not going to tell you what to use, so you need to figure out whether you're going to use a half or a double angle, because 75 is not on our charts. Now, we previously learned a different way we could do this. We could do a sum identity with sine of 30 plus 45, right? We could do it that way. But since this section is double and half angle identities, that's what we want to use today to practice those, okay? So instead of doing a sum, do a half or a double. So it's going to be one or the other. It's not, you're not going to be able to use, there's one you can use and one you can't. When I'm saying double and half, which one is it? So the answer is a half angle identity. So the only half angle we have to use for sine is this one. Whoa, I can't see it. There we go. So sine of 75 is 70. What quadrant is 75 in? First quadrant. So it's positive. It would be positive in second too, though, so it doesn't really matter. So it's positive. And what is the angle that we use in the formula? 150. Now here's where people get confused. They think, this is called a half angle identity, but I'm using an angle that's double the one they gave me. Do you see how people would get confused by that? So you're thinking, oh, I'm using a double angle identity because I'm doubling the angle. No, you're finding the half angle because you're finding the value of an angle, but you have to use the angle that is half of. I don't know, it can be a little tricky. Okay. So then we kind of have the same issue we just did in the last problem. Do you guys want to try simplifying this yourselves? Let's see, cosine of 150 is a reference angle of 30, but it's in the second quadrant, which means cosine is negative. So we end up with 1 minus a negative square root of 3 over 2. Is that right? And now work your magic simplifying that fraction for me. That's the hardest part, is simplifying the fraction. That's where the most common place to make mistakes is. So take it from there. See what you can do. How'd you do?
I got it right.
Woohoo! Where do you think the most common error is made?
Oh my gosh, it's really good.
Where do you think the most common error is made? This is just a guess, but my guess would be, if I gave this to a group of people that should know how to do it, that the most common error would probably be forgetting that cosine is negative in the second quadrant and giving a final answer that's 2 minus square root of 3 instead of 2 plus. So that would be my guess. I don't know.
What did you say? What would be most common?
Probably people forgetting that cosine is negative in the second quadrant and that this minus a negative makes it positive. That's what I'm guessing would be the most common. Okay, I have one more problem written down to verify, I think, but maybe I should just let you try work on it for a few minutes? I don't know, what do you think? One more? You guys seem burned out. Instead of doing one more right now, if you have questions, we'll go over them next time, right? So, next time, we are either gonna go on with chapter 4, or spend more time. We need to make a decision. I don't know if we can make it today or if we'll make it next time. Basically, I'm gearing up for your next test to be March 30th. And that's allowing for 2 days of review. So we can either do it that next time we have class on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, could be a review day to review chapter 3 before going on to chapter 4. Or we could just do 2 days of review before the test so that we can go back and review chapter 3 after learning chapter 4 and possibly forgetting everything. So would you rather do 2 review days before the right before the test, or 1 review day now and then 1 review day before the test? 2 review days before the test. Okay. Or we could possibly, if we could possibly trim it down to 1 review day, that gives us an extra review day for the final exam much later in the term. So, I mean, we have some give and take on some extra days to use and what we can use them for. So, I mean, yeah. We might want to wait and see what it's like. So we'll either end up with the test on March 28th or March 30th, depending on if we take 1 or 2 review days, depending on how everyone's feeling about everything. Right? Yes, Cody?
When do you do final?
Final exam will be the 2 days that are